I'm finally sharing my August reading plans, but here we are, and hey there booktube, welcome back to my channel. A week into August and I'm finally sharing my August reading plans, but here we are and here they are. In August, I'm participating unofficially in 2 readathons. First is a Tome Topple readathon, which started last Friday, I believe, August 4th, and it goes on for 2 weeks, and the objective is just to read tomes, big books that are at least 500 pages long. I don't read a lot of tomes, but I do have a couple of 500-page books on my TBR, so I'm gonna try to see if I can read those this month. And the first is A Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James. I've been interested in reading this book ever since it won the Man Booker Prize. I know I should have been interested long before because Marlon James is from Jamaica, where I'm from, but I must admit I have never read anything by him. So this is a great opportunity, I think, to finally get around to reading some Marlon James. The other tome that I have on my radar is this Pulitzer Prize winner, The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. I bought this a few months ago and I've been wanting to crack the pages open since then, and I haven't. So unofficially for Tome Topple, these are the books that I am looking at reading. Tome Topple is 2 weeks, which means that even though I'm almost a week late in starting, I still have an opportunity to do a little catch up. And even if I only read one, I will definitely read this because it's on my summer plans for more reasons than one, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. The next readathon that I am participating in is a 7 in 7 readathon, where the objective is just to read 7 books in 7 days. It is an low-key kind of laid-back readathon where there are no reading challenges, like there are no specific criteria to the books that you choose. So I just chose the 7 shortest books that I have on my TBR, and those are The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky, The Corpse Exhibition and Other Stories by Hassan Blazim, and this is short stories about the Iraqi war told by an Iraqi's perspective. Then I have In the Country by Mia Alvar, who is a Filipino writer, and these are short stories about Filipinos, I think, traveling the world. Then I have How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accent by Julia Alvarez, and this is about immigrants coming from the Dominican Republic and settling in New York City, and about their attempts to assimilate and still kind of hold on to their identity, or the opposite. Either they try to hold on to their identity or they lose completely their identity, but I'm gonna find out once I read it. Then I have The Housekeeper by Swellen Dainty, and she's an Australian writer, and this is about a woman who takes a job in the house of a celebrity and becomes a housekeeper for that rich person. Then I have Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's The Thing Around Your Neck, and I bought this from the book depository a couple of months ago. These are 12 short stories by the author of Americana, which I read recently and really enjoy her writing style. So I want to read everything by her. I think I told you that in my haul where I showed you another book that I have picked up from her recently. I want to read everything that she has published so far. And finally, I have a nonfiction read, which is The Ruler's Guide by Xinhua Tang, and this is China's Greatest Emperor and His Timeless Secrets of Success. This is a pretty short nonfiction read about leadership and what you can learn about leadership from war generals and war practices. So these are the 7 books that I am planning to get to during the 7 in 7 readathon. And August is also being celebrated as Women in Translation Month, and the objective is to read books written by women from other countries in other languages and translated to English. Did I say all of that right? I don't have a lot of those on my TBR, but I did try to choose books by international women as I try to choose my TBR. So on that TBR, I mentioned this is an international writer. This is a Filipino woman. This is Julia Alvarez. This book is originally published in English, I think, but there is a Spanish version because the author also writes in Spanish. And Swellen Dainty is from Australia, which means that she writes in English, but she is international. And Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, I'm not sure exactly where she was raised, but I know she is of Nigerian descent, and her books cross those cultures between the West and Africa. And of course, this one is by an international author, but he's a man. born in Shanghai. I try to celebrate international writers in everything that I do, so I don't actually have a women in translation TBR at this time. Almost 2 weeks ago, the Man Booker long list was announced, and the Man Booker long list are the 13 books that are in consideration for winning the Man Booker Prize later this year. Ever since the list has been announced, I've been pretty excited about reading some of the books on that list. I had Exit West already on my TBR, and it has been nominated, so I read this already. I'm going to talk about this later. And I also have 2 other books from my previous Man Booker challenge that I'm still reading, and I plan to get to those in August. That's Jim Crace's Harvest. I think every time I have talked about this book before, I've called him Jim Grace, but it's actually Crace. And this book is about agrarian community, what happens 1 year after the harvest. And The Lowlands by Jhumpa Lahiri, which is a book that's set in Calcutta and follows twin boys, I think, and their life in that Indian village. Other books that I have on my August radar are these nonfiction reads: Born to Run by Christopher McDougall, which is about running communities in the world. Creators Code: 6 Essential Skills of Extraordinary Entrepreneurs by Amy Wilkinson. I have this memoir called Dirty Wars and Polished Silver by Linda Schuster, and I got this one from the publisher in order to do a review. I also have What If by Randall Munroe, which is answers to hypothetical science questions. This one came from a list that Bill Gates published from his reading vacation a couple of years ago. He recommended this as one of his favorite books that year, so it's been on my radar ever since. Other novels that I have on my TBR, yes, I still have other books that I'm thinking about. I have The Unseen World by Liz Moore that I really want to read because everybody I've seen talk about this book has raved about it, and I don't know anything about it other than that it's some thriller suspense, and I want to dive into it. It feels like it should be a tome because it looks so long. It isn't. It's just shy. It's like 450 pages. And Carla Negger's The Thief's Mark, which is another book that I got from the publisher to review, and The Bees by Laline Paul, because it's been on my TBR ever since I saw it in the store. It's a kind of dystopic novel where the characters are bees, and so we get to see in this bee colony how people are chosen or rejected based on their abilities and disabilities. Through these bees, we get to take a little look at the human condition and human circumstances in a more poignant way, I suppose. Then I have this one that I got from the publisher in order to review, and it's called Still Here by Lara Vatnier, and the New York Times called this one of their most notable books of 2016. It is a book about immigration. The characters are Russian, and they met as teenagers or young adults, and these 4 people have now moved. They've now immigrated to New York City, and so it is a look at immigration from these Russians' perspective, but it's also a very profound look at death and the afterlife. Not the afterlife maybe as it relates to resurrection or reincarnation or something like that, but what endures from a person's life after that person has moved on. And it explores this through one of them creating some kind of an app that allows the person's online presence to continue even after the person is no longer physically alive. So the premise of the book is so interesting and so unique that I could see why this is a book that would have gotten a lot of acclaim, but we'll see when I finish reading it. So, yeah, there's a strong possibility that I won't read half of these books in August, but as has happened in previous months, when I put some books on my TBR for a month and I don't get to read them, I just move them over to the next month. So these are some of the books that I'm going to be reading soon. Thanks for watching this video. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you've read any of these. I want to chat about them, and until next time, happy reading. Bye.